What's up guys, Ruppy here, bringing you the very first team builder video for my Columbus Swoo for the Pokemon... I don't even remember that. Pokemon Trainer Grand Tournament, I think it was called, something like that. The PTGT. I should just call it that. I should just stop trying to say words. Just try to stop playing guessing games, just go with what I know. I mean, I want to try to be all fancy, address the league by its full name, but I guess PTGT works just as well. This is the draft format league I am a part of. I put up my team, my draft analysis video a few days ago, basically explain everything about how this is going, so please go check that out if you haven't seen it. All in all, I think I had a pretty good draft. I got a bunch of things I think I should be able to use to hopefully put together a potentially successful championship run. So this is my team builder game, or my team builder game. Yeah, that'd be a fun game to play. Sorry, I just got off work. I'm trying to record this before my game, which I'm actually playing in a little bit here. So I'm kind of all discombobulated right now. This is my team builder video for my week 1 game against the Annapolis Absols, coached by Arcanite, who coincidentally enough is the league's founder, I believe. How about that? Getting thrown against the guy who created the whole thing right out of the gate. Perfect start to the season, right guys? So, as you can see, I've got the Absols team off the side there. Now, I do want to point out, there actually were a couple changes that he made. In his initial draft, he actually had actually, no, I'll address them as we go along. So, let's look over his team really quick. You can see there for his OU picks, I've got him listed by what tier he drafted them in. He's got Excadrill and Tyranitar, which, I know what you're thinking. Why did we let him get Sand Offense? Why did we allow that? Honestly, he already picked Excadrill. I actually drafted, I think, right before him when we wheeled back around. And I honestly didn't feel I had a use for Tyranitar on my team, so I didn't pick T-Tar to try to stop him. And honestly, looking at how my draft played out, I am not as concerned about him running Sand Offense because my team actually has quite a few answers to a Sand Rush Excadrill in terms of speed. I have Galvantula, which can set up Sticky Webs, which will slow this thing down. I have Ditto, which can come in, use Imposter, and there we go. Now I've got a Sand Rush Excadrill, which can actually do a pretty sizable chunk to his team in that regard. Mega Absol! Sucker Punch pretty much just... I mean, I've got a lot of priority on this team. I've got Sticky Web. I've got a couple Trick Rumors I could potentially use. I have a lot of answers to Sand Rush. So, I wouldn't say he's not going to bring it. But if he prepped very heavily, he's probably noticed by now that my team has far too many answers to a Sand Rush Excadrill to risk it at least right out of the gate. Unless he is not that... Unless he thinks that I'm not a competent team builder or anything like that. But I don't know. We'll see how that plays out as we, when we get into the battle. He also basically got Volcanion, which is quite a bit threatening. Volcanion's a very powerful special attacker, released kind of late in 6th gen here. Fire Water type, has Water Absorb. I do have a couple answers to it, so I'm not too concerned about it. It could be a problem if I allow it to be, let's just put it that way. It has the potential to do some damage to me, but if I've got a couple ways to try to deal with it and bring it down. UU picks, I was actually pointing out, he actually originally drafted Mega Tyranitar, but decided to go for a different Mega, so he dropped it to pick up Tyranitar's regular form, and I'll explain that as we get into the UU tier here. His UU picks were Azelf, which, Rock Setter, can set up screens, it can do a lot of things, but, I mean, it's no Mew, let's put it that way. It's basically Mew Light. It's got a lot of things it can do, but unlike Mew, it's limited to what it can do, because I mean, it's not, Mew can learn pretty much every move in the book, Azelf not so much, so, and honestly, looking over his team, he might use it as a screener, which could throw me off a bit, but at the same time, I've got a couple things on my team that can kind of burn the screen turns, I guess, if he opts to bring it, or just outright pick it off if necessary. Mega Blastoise! Now, originally, his second UU pick was Salamence. He dropped Salamence in favor of Mega Blastoise after dropping his original Mega pick of Tyranitar to get its T-Tar's base form. Just because he claimed it was because his team had a major ice weakness. Honestly, I'm not seeing it all that much, just looking at this team. But, whatever floats his boat. Mega Blastoise can be a pain in the ass just because it is very defensive. And obviously with Mega Launcher, it has the potential to hit me kind of hard as well. But, moving on. His last UU pick was Sableye, which, it's kind of a pain because, you know, Prankster, Will-O-Wisp, Taunt, etc. So it can be a pain, but I think my team's got more than enough answers to really not care too much about Sableye, at least not to a great degree. Venusaur. Now, this is actually an interesting one, because originally he drafted Spiritomb there, and while I was getting ready to team prep, I noticed that he actually dropped Spiritomb and picked up Venusaur instead for that RU pick. I am honestly not sure, because I haven't talked with him, if he's going to be able to, because of that, because it was so close to when we agreed to play, he's going to be able to use Venusaur for this game or not. I prepped in case he's allowed to use Venusaur, but his original pick was Spiritomb, and honestly, I don't need to change my prep to deal with Spiritomb, because I've got, basically by answering things like Sableye and another of his RU picks, Hoopa, I've got an answer for Spiritomb. So, I'm not too concerned if he does end up being allowed to use Spiritomb and brings it, because my team already has potential answers for similar types of Pokemon. If he does bring the Venusaur, I do have ways of dealing with that as well. I already mentioned the Hoopa he's got there. It's definitely not Hoopa Unbound, because that's banned. Hoopa on its own, I honestly don't think it's as good as its Unbound counterpart, hence why it's RU tier. And my team's got plenty of answers to it. Dugtrio can be a problem, because it's a trapper, and honestly, unless I put a Choice Scarf on something, I don't have anything that can outspeed it. That thing is literally faster than my entire team, which does have the potential to be a problem. I'm not gonna lie. But given Dugtrio is so frail, and I do have plenty of priority to handle it, I'm not hurting for ways to outspeed it, because I can weather the storm of Dugtrio and then go from there. And then his NU picks, he's got Hitmonchan, which I noticed he's got 3 Rapid Spinners on this team, actually, and a potential Defogger. So, he's not exactly, trying to get Hazards up on the field might be a problem, but as long as I can get them out there and they're able to do what they need to do, as long as they're out there, then I think I can whittle his team down enough to be able to handle him. Hitmonchan, being a fighting type, having access to Mach Punch, that could be a bit of a problem for how I plan on approaching this match, but I do have answers for that. Muck, just flat out defensive power. I mean, it can hit pretty hard, but I've got ways of dealing with that. And Articuno, I mean, Ice type, I can have ways of dealing with Ice types. Hurricane might be a bit of an issue to my team, but this was a bit of a tough team build, honestly, because I had 2 Pokemon I knew what for sure I wanted to bring, and then the rest was like, what best matches up against the vast majority of his team without giving me too many weaknesses. Unfortunately, that did kind of leave me in a position where my team build is a bit weird, because I like to try to balance my teams, but this team only has 1 dedicated special attacker, but it does have 2 Mons that don't really fall into either the physical or special attacking category, and I will get to those as we go along. So first off, we're going to begin with my Mega Absol, Fallen Angel. Obviously, it's going to be Mega, Magic Bounce for its ability. That's because I had to Mega Evolve it first turn. I'm running a relatively standard set, I'm not going to lie. It's pretty much a standard set, Sword Stance, Knockoff, Sucker Punch, and Play Rough. With max speed, max attack, and a little bit of EVs in special defense. Why am I going pretty standard Mega Absol for this, you ask? Because, while I was looking over his team, honestly, barring the Mega Blastoise, and if he's allowed to bring it, barring the Venusaur, with a Swords Dance, depending on how he spreads his defense EVs around on some of these Pokemon, if I can get one Swords Dance up, Mega Absol pretty much destroys his entire team. Mega Blastoise is not falling into that category because it's ridiculously physically bulky. Venusaur will be able to live, if he goes with a more defensive set, he'll be able to live some shots as well. I think even a more offensive set might be able to take one knockoff or Sucker Punch. If I remember my calcs correctly. But barring that, knockoff, Sucker Punch, and Play Rough is more than enough coverage to really do a lot of damage to his team. Excadrill, obviously, even if he does bring Sand Rush, Sucker Punch is going to take priority. So, and a +2 Sucker Punch, unless he's bringing a far more defensive variant, which, to some extent, I think kind of defeats the point of Sand Rush. Excadrill is not going to appreciate eating a Sucker Punch. T-Tar is not going to appreciate a Play Rough. Volcanion can go down to a Sucker Punch and a knockoff, I think. Azelf, Sableye, Hoopa, Spiritomb if he has to bring that over Venusaur. Not a single one of them wants to deal with Mega Absol. I will have to be wary with Sableye though if he decides to bring a Destiny Bond one, because I do not need a Destiny Bond not Mega Sableye, regular Sableye. I don't need a Destiny Bond Prankster Sableye taking away what basically looks like my win con here. So I'm going to have to be wary about that, but because of Magic Bounce, nothing else Sableye can do can really touch me. He can knock me out with a Foul Play if he goes with that, but considering that Fallen Angel outspeeds under normal circumstances and wipes that thing out with pretty much any move, I'm not too concerned. Doug Trio, I have a feeling he might bring Sash Doug Trio. If I break that Sash, that thing goes down to a Sucker Punch. Hitmonchan, I think Sucker Punch, I'm going to have to double check this before I go into battle. Sucker Punch and Mach Punch I think might have the same priority tier, and if that's the case, unless he scarfs that thing, Mega Absol will get priority on Sucker Punch first, and I think a Sucker Punch will actually take, a +2 Sucker Punch will actually take out Hitmonchan. Muck doesn't appreciate a knockoff at all, Articuno doesn't appreciate a knockoff. Basically, Fallen Angel, if I whittle a few things down, and find the opportunity to Mega Evolve and get a Swords Dance, Fallen Angel will destroy his entire team. But just in case, I do have another insurance policy, and that is the Fool, my Ditto. Going with the, actually, traded Ditto that I was asked to nickname the Fool to a, PPL gym leader for his team, I think at East. I think he was building like a tarot card theme deck. And so I decided, I'll call this thing the Fool, why not? Also kind of relatively standard-ish for Ditto. I mean, I gotta add Transform on because it's the only move it learns. I've got Imposter on there. EVs, I made it defensive, but honestly it's not gonna matter because the EVs are gonna change as soon as Imposter activates. This is gonna allow me, and this can be really important, it's gonna allow me to scout some of his sets, see what he's playing with, and obviously with the Choice Scarf, if he does decide to bring Sand and Sand Rush Excadrill, I will be able to turn into Excadrill and then proceed to abuse the Choice Scarf and his own Sand to cause a lot of damage to his team. So that's one of the main reasons I think I feel like he's not going to bring it, because Ditto can easily turn that strategy right back against him, and I don't think he really wants to deal with that, but we'll see how it plays out, because Ditto, like Fallen Angel, puts in a tremendous amount of work as long as I play it right. Next up, we have Vini Vidi Vici, my Victini. which seems to be kind of like my dedicated team captain at this point for draft format. I'm kind of going back to, how was that old phrase put? Dance with the one who brought you? Because this is kind of a relatively standard-ish Victini set for my standards, but I was getting a little too physical attack happy, and honestly, Special Victini can put in a lot of work under the right circumstances. Blue Flare, Thunder, and Focus Blast is honestly all the coverage I really need to kind of whittle down or outright destroy a good chunk of his team. Expert Belt to give the boost to that power. And by running a substitute, I do have the capability of catching him off guard on switches to be able to basically take a free shot at things like Excadrill if he's got Sand Up, or T-Tar, or get a Thunder off on Volcanion. Just stuff like that that will basically allow me a free hit before I get Victini the heck out of there. Max Special Attack. I gave it just enough speed. Honestly, I think I gave it just enough speed IVs to... What was it? I don't think it was Azov. I think it was Articuno. I just barely outspeed. I know nothing on my team outspeeds Dugtrio, and unless he put... I don't even know if... I think Azov gets knocked out. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check that. But, barring Dugtrio and Azov, Victini still should pretty much outspeed just about everything from that range, even if I think his next fastest Pokemon is Articuno, ignoring Sandrush Excadrill's existence. And even if that thing is timid, Victini should just barely outspeed with this spread. And I just threw 8 EVs into both defenses just to try to give it just a tiny bit more bulk to try to help it out a little bit. I don't think it's really going to matter, but I'm just trying to see how far I can take Victini in this league. My old team tank, Tough Tuss the Don fans, coming back into this battle. Now you're gonna see 2 leftovers users on my team. Unlike the GPL, which strictly enforced item clause, since this is operating under UCL rules, I am allowed to have up to 2 of the same held item, and I am definitely using that for my 2 defensive walls you see up there. Tough Tuss, even though I've got leftovers on it, I'm running a more offensive set this time around. Rapid Spin, because Tough Tuss is my only spinner. Should have probably thought about that one a little more, but Tough Tuss does what it needs to. Earthquake puts in a lot of work against his team. Knockoff is good for getting rid of items and deals with the Psychic and Ghost types he has. And while I could have put Ice Shard on there, honestly, Ice Shard doesn't really do a whole hell of a lot for me in this game, because I've already got Excadrill dealt with through means of Earthquake, because this thing is still defensive enough to take an Earthquake even from an Adamant max attack Excadrill, and then return fire with an Earthquake of its own and wipe it out. And T-Tar's obviously not going to be really doing anything. Tough Tuss can take the hits it needs to. So just for fun, I decided to throw Seed Bomb on there to deal with Dugtrio better, even though Earthquake can probably just take that thing out. And it also does a little more damage than Earthquake, actually, to the Mega Blastoise. So that's there just to kind of give me a way to deal with some of his things that can take an Earthquake, but give me a little more damage output to just whittle them down for other things to deal with. As for my Stealth Rock setter, that would go to Damascus, my Registeel. Just basically running a relatively traditional set here, at least with Stealth Rock, Toxic, and Seismic Toss. Because, honestly, I don't think I really have the attack necessary to deal a whole lot to his team. So I figured Seismic Toss just for a decent amount of damage right then and there should suffice. And I also put Magnetize on there because even though I know I can take an Earthquake from an Excadrill, even with this spread, the less Earthquakes Damascus is taking, the better. So Magnetize will allow me to dodge Earthquakes from Excadrill, T-Tar if he packs it, Dugtrio. Honestly, anything else he wants to pack Earthquake. We've got a couple things that could use Earthquake or even Earth Power. Spread is pretty much, everything's mostly important to special defense, because Donphan's more on my physical wall for this game. But Damascus can take enough physical hits and shrug them off well enough, because his defenses are just so ridiculous. I was initially torn on which one of these two I wanted to bring, but then I decided, you know what? I don't really have I'm not liking a whole lot of my other options overall in trying to basically plan for his entire blanket plan, because I prefer to try to blanket plan, because that just gives me less of a headache if I guess what he's going to bring and then predict wrong, because then I'm in huge trouble trying to salvage whatever plan I put together. So I figured I'd bring them both, because I can take the hits I need to, whittle him down, and basically set up for something else to do the damage. And then last but not least, we're going to take a page out of Diamond Dallas Page's playbook with a little self-high-five action courtesy of my Ambipom. Life Orb Technician, honestly, again running a relatively traditional set. Fake out return, low kick and knockoff, max speed, max attack, a little bit of defense investment. Honestly, I brought this thing for one reason and one reason only. Using fake out to break sashes. Because if he is allowed to bring up the 2 focus sashes, I have a feeling he might on some of his mons. Especially that Dog Trio if he brings it, because Dog Trio just trying to trap me, wipe me out with Earthquakes. It's a real possibility, especially since it does outspeed everything on my team, hands down. So if I can fake that thing out and break its sash early, then that Dog Trio is pretty much a sitting duck for the rest of the game, because I have quite a few other ways to deal with it. I've got tanks that take an Earthquake from it, or dodge it in the case of Damascus if I can get a Magnet Rise up, and then just wipe it out from there. Self High 5 is actually capable of living an Earthquake, at least from Dog Trio, and being able to wipe it out with a return. Knockoff, again, gets rid of items and deals with the Psychic and Ghost types. Low Kick will destroy both Excadrill and T-Tar, though I would prefer not to have this thing messed up with Excadrill if he does bring Sand. But Self High 5 is here basically to kind of help set... Basically, my main game plan is to kind of just slowly whittle his team down and set the stage, mostly for Fallen Angel, maybe the Fool. The Fool's kind of my backup plan, to basically wipe out the rest of his team. It is doable, it just all depends on how I play this. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video so I can go meet up with Arky and then get our game done. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I've been Ruppy, sorry, I'm getting my channels mixed up now. I am Ruppy, PokeRupp. I guess you could call me Ruppdad if you really want to, if you came over from my main channel. And I will see you guys in a little bit, I guess, at least for recording purposes, with my very first game for the PTGT. I really need to get my talking sorted out before then. I will see you guys then. Take care.